What's going on, Reactorites, and welcome to a special edition limited series. Actually, this is the series finale for a series finale, and this is going to be our last Game of Thrones episode review. We did one last week for the second to last episode, and this will be the last one because the series is over, guys. There's no more. There was a lot to talk about, a lot that happened in the episode, some controversy still on the show, but basically we're going to talk about all that and more. And my name is Mike, and tonight I am joined with Alger and with John, and we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. We're gonna talk about everything that happened in the episode, and then where it goes from here, and what do we do as fans, moving forward? How do we move on? How do we move on with our lives in a post Game of Thrones world? So I just want to get just a general reaction. What did you guys think of the episode? Let's go ahead and just start with Alger first. What did you think of the episode?
You know what? And I posted this on my Facebook. I thoroughly enjoyed that ending because it was a reaction to everybody's reaction, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because not nobody. If you're a fan of Bran, you got what you wanted. And
nobody's a fan of Bran.
There's people actually I know that wanted Bran on the throne, and they're like, hey, look, I told you, and I'm just
Who
like,
is it?
Hey,
is it your friend Bran?
No, it was my friend Kenneth. But anyway, he's that's not relevant. But I'm just saying, I have friends that actually believe Bran would be part of would actually attain the throne. They just didn't know how. And of course, that was revealed in yesterday's episode. So I'm glad I actually enjoyed that ending because, truthfully, I enjoyed it because everybody's predictions was wrong, and not everybody. Excuse me. A majority of the people's predictions were wrong, and I like that. And I like that. I like not knowing what was going to happen. There's so many different ways it could have gone, and going this way, I didn't think it would go that way, but it did. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. That is my reaction to it.
Okay, well, you got it. All right. That was Alger's reaction. John, what did you think? Because I know you were looking for a happy ending. That definitely did not happen.
A certain type of ending.
What did you think?
Was that sarcasm?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
It was pretty much a happy ending. Like most of the Stark family members that you're rooting for since season 1, majority they survived and they are doing their own thing. They're all leading their own little region. And I enjoy that, but overall, it's okay. It's like I wasn't like, oh my god, this is a great ending, or oh, this ending is terrible. I was like, it's okay.
Okay, so that's. I was expecting you to say you hated it.
Why would you expect that?
That's why I went with Alger first. But
oh, you wanted something juicy, huh? Well, I can give you the juice.
No, I mean, especially we were talking about it last episode. What we were all kind of expecting. Yeah. And I know for sure you said you basically have not liked the series, or not the series, but the season so far up to the last episode. And then so I just wasn't sure. I didn't know what your reaction.
I do have my gripes, and it's the episodes are fewer now, and it's rushed. But you make do, but you can still have issues with it. It can never match the previous seasons.
Right.
Just because of the world building, the character arc. And here, it just feels like they're rushing to the end game.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah.
yeah. The source material. They don't have the source material, and it's different now. The tone of the Game of Thrones has been really different because before you're anticipating what's next. Everything's fleshed out, and with this one, you can tell it's not about the characters anymore. It's about how they get to the end, and I think that the story kind of gets sacrificed because of that for the characters.
Yeah, so let's definitely we're gonna get into all that as far as like everything that goes forward, and then we're gonna recap the episode from all the major parts that happened. Me personally, I wouldn't say I wasn't let down. I just didn't know what to think afterwards. I was just kind of like, oh, it's over, like, and it's just kind of like it's a really bittersweet ending to where you're just kind of like, okay, well, I can see how that could have happened that way, and it's like it's kind of like it's just like we were talking about, Alger, that anime ending where it's just kind of like, oh, it's over now. You're just like, how do I
don't know.
move on?
Some anime endings, it's when it's over, you're like, what the hell, man? You can't stop ending like that. Like, for example, Berserk.
Yeah, exactly.
Berserk's not actually done; it's still going.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. The manga's still going, but that anime, like, they just have that arc. So,
yeah, I mean, like even like Cowboy Bebop, one of the greatest anime ever. It ends on one character's story, and then you don't even know what happens to the other characters that are still alive. It's just
exactly. It's just like yeah. That's right. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just over, and then you just kind of like, what? And then there's not even a continuation. At least for fans, there is going to be, a book or two maybe that comes out and that'll flesh out more of an ending that the people were looking for. But okay, we're going to definitely get into that. Okay, so let's just go over, basically the end, and then everything. The episode from start to finish, as far as like all the big stuff that happened. Let's talk about. I was surprised Tyrion actually lived through the episode. When we see him, he's like, distraught. There was a scene where like right in the beginning where he's walking up to Daenerys from behind him. I thought from behind her, I thought he was going to stab her in the back or something. I thought that he was going to try to assassinate her, especially when they had like that over the shoulder kind of shot, and it just shows him slowly walking up towards her. I don't know why I thought he was actually going to try to kill her. But he basically, says, he admits that he let his brother go, and then he relinquished his title as the Hand because of everything that Daenerys has done. And during this whole whatever scene, like there's this awesome shot where she kind of like walks from the back of the what's left of the castle, and then Drogon is right behind her, and then like his wings expand, and like as she's walking by, and it's just like this really cool imagery and this really cool shot, and it's basically that she is the dragon now. She right, what's her name? What's her name? Tyrell. God, what was her name? Is it Lady Tyrell?
Which one?
The Tyrell, the elder one. The one that killed Joffrey. What was her name? I forgot her name.
Oh my god,
we can call her like Mother Tyrell.
But basically, she tells her, remember, you need to be. They won't fear you. You need to be a dragon, And now she's a dragon. She burned all these people alive, and it was a really cool scene. Like her just like kind of talking to all these all the soldiers, all the Unsullied and the Dothraki. Basically, she was basically saying that we're not stopping here. We're gonna conquer all of Westeros. Basically, that this war was not going to end just with King's Landing. In that one scene, you can basically summarize that was what she was saying. You know what I mean? Like she said, she believed what she was doing was for a good cause, or she believed what she was doing was right, and it just was going to lead to more death and more war, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Tyrion touched on that. I think you're about to say that too, right, John?
Right.
Oh no, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's true. I mean, they drove. I don't want to say they drove. This character devolved into going towards that path. Daenerys started off climbing that mountain of morality in a way, right? She wanted to be the righteous one, the queen that everybody wanted, the breaker of chains, all those crazy titles she got. And in this last season, rushed or not, right? They started making her go towards the mad side of her birthright in a way, or her father's legacy. They call her the Mad Queen. Some people are calling her the Mad Queen in this season, and that's pretty much what it was. She her character lost track of what she was trying to accomplish initially. She stopped listening to her advisor. She stopped listening to Tyrion, and pretty much wanted to take on the entire world. Okay, and that was the initial goal with Drogo. Remember when he said the stallion will mount the world? He will take his armies and lay waste to Westeros, and she did. She did. It happened. The question is, was it the right choice? I truthfully see both sides. She got her friend. She got her friend killed, or excuse me, her friend got killed. Missandei, and it was funny because when Missandei's head got chopped off, I saw all these posts like, "Yeah, burn King's Landing," right? And then when she burns King's Landing, everybody's like, "Oh, what are you doing, Daddy?" Dude, make up your minds, guys. I mean, but I understand.
And sometimes when people say things, they don't really mean it.
Yeah, I mean, that's also true.
It's like if someone pisses me off, it's like, "I'm gonna kill you." Doesn't mean I really want to kill the person, because that would be murder, and I would go to jail.
Good thing you're not Danny, because Danny slaughtered an entire kingdom.
Yeah,
slaughtered the entire city of King's Landing. So I mean, again, I understand both sides. I understand why she did it, but then I also understand why she shouldn't have done it. So, but that's, yeah.
Right, and no, I get, and then they almost purposely put that scene with Tyrion in there, and it's funny because people were already doing Twitter posts about putting together all the stuff that she had done prior, like she's burned these people, she's killed these people, she's crucified all these people, and then and it's funny because that's what basically Tyrion gets not captured, but he gets put under arrest, and then he's going to be executed. And he basically sums it up. He basically says she's done this, she's done that, she's done that, and then the whole time everybody that she had was telling her she was doing the right thing, and then now she's basically she has no one to kind of guide her, and she definitely doesn't listen to Tyrion, and for sure she's not going to listen to Jon Snow now that she sees him as a threat. So she has nobody other than doing what she believes is right, which is to destroy the the Iron Throne or the Wheel, and then she's going to do whatever she has already done here. She's going to take that and then basically do it all across Westeros until everyone is under her command, and she believes that this is somehow going to liberate everybody and free people by killing by killing women and children.
Yeah. That's when she went too far, just with the killing of innocent people. Before, she just killed evil people.
Right.
And she crossed the line. But then I believe she's getting to the point where she believes she's a goddess and she can do no wrong. And so when Jon Snow was talking to her about what about other people who think they're doing it right? So I think that he was referring to her. It's like hint, hint, wink, wink. And she's like, no, we killed him.
There's some people. I'm not saying you, but some people that think
How dare you?
But I know I totally agree with you. He is basically just saying, hey, it was, there's some people that think they're doing the right thing and they're not doing the right thing. But yeah, and then Tyrion, that was a really great scene, but also the scene with him, he goes into the catacombs or whatever of the bottom of the castle, and he discovers Jaime's hand and what's left of Jaime and Cersei. I thought that was a really cool scene. It's a sad and touching scene. He's still family. I'm sure Cersei has tried to kill him, and
that's his brother and sister, man.
As brother and sister, it's the only family he has, and they're gone. He's the last of the Lannisters. There's nobody left besides him. And it's just
he can still continue the legacy now because
right
with Sansa.
What? Maybe he could. It's possible,
right?
But he's the hand of Bran the Broken. But he can do whatever he wants. So.
Yeah, I know that was one of the things we were theorizing, and I'm kind of glad that didn't come to pass. But we'll get to that towards the end, like what really happened, and Bran and all that. But yeah, I thought this was a really touching scene for Peter Dinklage. Everybody's already saying like, oh, he's probably going to win another Emmy because of this, but I mean, it was sad, and it's sad, for his character having basically, I mean, majority of his family hated him other than his brother, and he was the only person that looked out for him, and to see that he couldn't save his brother, and in the end he died, and what remains of his family is gone, and he's the only one, and it's kind of sad. But I mean, other than that,
did you cry?
No, I did not cry. I didn't cry watching that. Now, I was gonna say there's something that also happens in this episode, like as far as there's certain things that we talked about that may have been alluded to in previous episodes that didn't come to pass, like certain things that we thought were being hinted at that never happened, that never manifested into anything. I don't know if you guys, we want to talk about like. So one thing that everybody kept talking about that I remember even bringing up, since we're on the subject of Bran. Bran, when he was warging in the battle for Winterfell, what the hell was he doing? Like, we have no idea. Like, that whole time he was doing it, and then I was like, okay, maybe they're doing something that's set up like in a later episode, and only to come to find out by the end of this episode, it meant nothing. That nothing happened. Like, the whole time he was doing that, and then we have no idea what he was doing.
He was there where he needs to be.
He was. He was probably warging into like a dog and just hunting or something, doing something.
Yeah. You know what would have been cool if he was actually doing that, warging, and actually using the animals to warn everyone, even Jon Snow, Arya, and so they're, oh no, Bran, he's getting attacked by the Night King. Let's all do a formation. Let's start heading there right now. And so we finally get a cool battle between the Night King and his lieutenants or whatever, with Jon Snow, Arya, and like his best guys, and they like fight each other, and something happens instead of the twist, the surprise with Arya just coming out of nowhere, jumping like maybe 100 feet and stabbing them.
Yeah, that whole scene is just basically pointless now, because the whole time he's working. Okay, we see him leave with ravens, right? Like they show you that, like the ravens go into the sky, and then I think they see kind of like the battle going on between, Daenerys and the Night King, mm-hmm. But that's it. Like you never see them again, and then literally all he was doing the entire time was watching the battle go on.
I like to think he was doing just a bird's eye view of the entire area, and I don't know. That's my. It didn't help anybody. Like, yeah, it didn't help anybody. But that is my speculation. But again, that's me probably imposing my own explanation for it.
Yeah, you know what also would have been cool if he actually used one of the lead ravens to form like just a flock of ravens to like attack the Night King while he's flying.
Pretty much say a flock of seagulls.
And then like knock him off like the dragon or something.
Yeah, knock him off, do anything, And it would be, if they did that, it would be like a cool scene to watch. Oh crap, he's finally using his power to actually looks cool instead of just sitting down and just being away.
That's literally all that scene was. Like they're like, I kept thinking, like, I mean, even me and one of our other friends, Norvin, we were talking about it. Like, okay, we're gonna eventually find out what Bran was doing. Like, it's gonna be a big thing, and it's gonna have something to do with like the story, like an overall like thing. It meant absolutely fucking nothing. And then the other thing that we were talking about, like, there was a big imagery that we were talking about, and then the whole, the prophecy, or the with Arya, and we saw her last episode, and she's seen everything that happens, and she was sent there with this mission to kill the queen. She didn't get to kill Cersei. We already kind of surmised it was going to be Dany because of the whole what was it, blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes,
blue eyes, white dragon.
And then only that, the imagery with the horse, upon a white horse, death road, whatever, and hell followed with him. That turned out to be nothing also. So yeah. that didn't mean anything at all as well. And then, okay, there's another thing. The whole thing with Varys. So Varys, we see him, but before he gets captured or before he gets sentenced to death, he's doing his little notes. He's writing things down, and from all we know, he's sending his messages out to his little channels. We don't even know what he's doing. He's just writing all this stuff down. The last thing we see, he burns one of his notes. We never find out what happens to Marta. Right? She just disappears. He kind of talks to her, and then we don't know if they caught her and killed her, or if she just happened to get away. Did he send her away? We have no idea what happened to her, and that whatever it is that he was doing with those notes or whatever meant nothing. So that doesn't materialize into anything. So that was kind of disappointing for me.
I'm getting I'm seeing a trend here where there's a lot of character arcs. Their arcs just goes nowhere. It just feels kind of pointless. Especially when these characters, all these characters that you're watching since the first season, you're engaged. You're like, oh man, what's he gonna do? What's this character gonna do? And that's what makes the show so great, with all the characters mingling and seeing what their goal is.
The potential, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a couple of character arcs that I think by the end are still interesting. They're interesting, but I don't know, if the conclusion is, satisfying enough. Like, I still think, like, the person that does make sense to me as far as, like, what they've gone through and what they're currently doing is, to me, Grey Worm. Grey Worm, I think he makes sense because, I mean, he was basically born and raised in military, and that's all he's ever known. And then the only person who's ever giving him a life or anything else other than what he was born into was Daenerys. And then the only person who's ever shown him any type of like actual love was Melisandre. And then so her being gone, and then Missandei, but her being gone, and then Dany being the only thing that he has. And he to me, I mean, it totally makes sense that he would blindly, follow her, and then, using his, rage for what happened to Missandei. It made sense. And then, the scene with him and John and we were kind of talking about, I don't know if we mentioned in the last episode, but I kind of felt like there might have been a fight between him and John. Because there was that one scene from last episode where they're kind of staring at each other because he notices that John's not killing people. And then here we have that awkward confrontation where he's, literally, executing soldiers in the streets, the people that have already surrendered. And he's doing it at the request of Daenerys. But, I mean, his character arc, I think is kind of believable as far as the things or the stuff that he does in this episode.
I would just agree, just for the fact, or not fact, but I believe that he should be doing more. Like, okay, let's choose a new ruler. And it's like, why would he choose a new ruler? Dany died. I'm no longer chained to anyone now. I don't have to listen to you guys, so I'm gonna take over. I'm like the new commander. I'm top dog now.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Alger.
I'd say I might have to disagree with you on that, John, because he's like, the way Grey Worm is, he's like who's a good example to compare Grey, like if their leader disappears, like he just can't do anything without following somebody. He's that kind of a character. At least that's how I've seen him since we first met. Again, and the parts I will agree with is him finally finding love and all the other stuff with Missandei. Mm-hmm. But I think him as a character, he still would want somebody to be under to follow, because that's all he's known. And right. He could have just gone, and yes, there's that possibility of him saying, "Hey, if F this, I'm out."
But he did. He said F this before when he had rulers, and then Dany came and freed them.
That is true. That is true. And I don't know. I guess for me, I still feel that character side of him of taking orders is just, and he loved Dany too. So maybe
I feel
he just didn't want to abandon that position.
He should have just done more. Like, this John killed Dany. I'm not going to let this slide. This is, I have a debt to pay with her, like a life debt. So I will do whatever it takes to take this guy down. I don't care who you guys are. You guys are sitting on chairs. I'll kill all of you too.
It's true.
Yeah, I think that like I was just more or less talking up to like a certain point, but I agree with that part, John, as far as like what you're saying, because I feel like they just did that just so that way they can find a way to
rush the ending.
Basically rush the ending. But no, but like up to that certain point, like I do agree like that or I do believe that you know his character made the most sense as far as like what he had gone through and what he was doing. But then, you know, on the back half, I agree with you as far as like, I don't know about that. That was kind of too easy.
Yeah.
But, you know,
so when you say character that makes the most sense, so which character makes the least sense?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to. I think, you know what, for me, I would say Brand, because he's just kind of being content with just being in the background and like not having any contribution to anything.
I love that.
And then at the end, he's just like, you know what? Yes, that's exactly why I'm even here. Like just to be king. And it's like, what?
Everyone. So this is what I said. Everyone played the Game of Thrones, right? Everybody's trying to circle that whole political power. The person that won the Game of Thrones is a person that didn't play at all.
And just maybe he did play by just being inactive.
By inactive and just watching everybody manipulate each other, and then eventually once they all ate each other up, you know, because of the power. Absolutely. I remember, what's that saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely, something like that. And look what happened to everybody there. Everybody that was just vying for power, they all just pretty much simmered away, and it was just Bran that was pretty much left, and they chose him because they understood he's not this kind of a person. But I guess I might be jumping ahead of topic here, Mike.
Right. No, it's okay. But you know, I agree with you. Like he to me, like, I mean, at the end when they finally announced him, something I thought about like watching this episode. To me, the whole Game of Thrones and the whole, you know. I felt like it was like a lot of it was kind of like political satire not satire, but you know, like basically just, you know, there was definitely some social commentary as far as like our own kind of political climate. Not like exactly what we go through, you know, today, but it just overall like this whole game of like saying, you know, being a president of the United States, it is a game. It is, you know, there's certain things and, you know, things you have to say and people you have to please in order to win the game of being the president. You know what I mean? And then, like, I keep hearing, like, you know, people talk in podcasts about, like, you know, our system and how, you know, it's broken, or that, you know, it's such a corrupt system that no matter what, it doesn't matter who sits on the throne. In the end, we're all just going to get screwed anyways. But, you know, and the person that would be the best, you know, ideally for the job in order to be the president is a person who doesn't want to be president in the first place, because they would have, you know, nobody, they would have no masters, they would have no like allegiance to anybody, because any type of politician that tries to get into office, they have to, like, you know, they have to get backing, they have to make a campaign. Where do you get money for a campaign? You just don't have money. You have to get it from, you know, people who invest money into you. Obviously they have, you know, okay, we get you into office, this is what we want from you, in order to
lobbyists.
Yeah, lobbyists. People that are lobbying, they give you money. They don't just give you money for free. They want something in return, because you're going to get into office, and then once you're in office, you're going to allow them to make certain, you know, laws and certain things that will be passed that benefit them, that benefit their company. And so it's just, you know, that's the game. That's the Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like, and the best option at the end was, I believe, Bran, because Bran, you know, he has no allegiance to anybody other than maybe Sansa, and, you know, he, you know, basically gave her exactly what she wanted, and the North is now independent from the Seven Kingdoms. But I mean, other than that, I mean, there's nobody that could really, you know, buy Bran, you know, because he's so one note, he's so lacking of personality or, you know, ambition, that he's the perfect person to be the king. I guess you could say.
Yeah. There, you know, people will be like, huh, why are we following this guy? he does nothing. Now he's going away to look for Drogon.
Nah, come on, dude. That was just in the next couple scenes. He's not going to do that like for how many years as king.
You guys handle your brothel business. I'm gonna go elsewhere.
So like he knows everybody's like I want to say position, but he knows like how the outcomes. He knows what is the potential outcomes of situations because as we've seen because of his clairvoyance, right? Because this guy's here, that guy's there, and if they're in these areas, this outcome is going to happen eventually. And that's how he became king. How he became king in the end, right?
Right.
He didn't want to be king of Winterfell because he knows he's going to be king of the Seven Kingdoms. So he said nothing. He just let everything pretty much play out like a chess game. So I don't know. That's at least that's my take on it.
What do you say, John?
I say we talk about Dany's death.
Okay.
Oh shit!
Way to go over the spoilers, John. Great.
What?
Show's over, everybody. The series is over. The show's over. Okay, so I don't know. I didn't see it happen. Well, I mean, we already talked about all the ideas of where it could have gone. Did you see that happening the way it did?
With that, I was thinking like maybe Arya is going to kill her. I didn't think John was going to do that like in a very stealthy way. Like, hey, let's kiss and let's make out and blah, blah, blah. And sneak attack.
Yeah, I didn't see that happening. It was well, I mean, he definitely that scene with Tyrion and John, basically I felt like maybe John just felt like he never really wanted. I think part of it was that he knew if he had killed Daenerys that maybe there was a chance he would be king, and then he didn't want to be king, and then also he didn't want to be wrong about Dany, because I think part of him still cared for her. Maybe he couldn't be romantically with her anymore, but he still believed that maybe she'll do this the good things that she said she would do, and that she's different, and that everybody's wrong about her. But then I think he just maybe finally realized well, I mean, once Tyrion said that do you think your sisters are going to bend the knee, and he was like, okay, that's I got to do something. He was going to have to do something, and and that ultimately led him to killing her.
Yeah, that whole again, this is I understand why people were mad about the outcome of Dany's character and how it came to this. With 2 to 3 seasons, and I said this before, with 2 to 3 extra seasons, we would have seen this eventually. We would have seen this change in her. And people are like, no, some people are like, no, it's not. He could have wrote something. No, it's not, because
forget
George
about people, Alger.
Yeah, because George R. I'm just giving examples here, but George R. Martin even said in an article a long time ago, it was at Rolling Stones, he gave all the main plot points to the end to D.B. Weiss and excuse me, let me just say the writers D&D, both of them, right? He gave it to them 5 to 6 years ago. So these major plot points we just saw on screen. People can deny it all they want, but those are the huge plot points, and everything around it, the writers filled in. People can complain about that until the cows come home. But I'm just saying, those major things that occurred are most likely what George R. R. Martin gave them and said, here's what's going to happen eventually. And it happened. It made the stab. That's a huge scene of the stabbing of Daenerys after her buildup. Like, that is friggin' huge. And at the same time, I'm glad she became this character, because it shows that not every character will rise to the occasion and become heroic. And again, as Batman said, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain, and she became a villain. Mm-hmm. And I actually like that change. I personally do. So
yeah, it's an interesting change. For me, I wish it was just developed more.
That's what I said. 2 to 3 more seasons, right?
Yeah,
we would have seen that eventually.
And I actually was showing John earlier. There was an article that came out a while back where they talked about basically, they'd said that they could do, or at least George R. R. Martin said they could do at least 3 more seasons, but that's not going to happen. That even HBO wanted to do more seasons because it's their best show that they have. Like, why wouldn't they want to do more seasons?
Yeah.
But it's just, there's a lot of rumor because one thing is saying that the reason why the show ended was because D&D wanted to go over to Star Wars. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not. I wonder if
this is speculation. This is all speculation. I heard that too.
This is all because there are quotes in the article that are directly from people who are from HBO and from George R. R. Martin. But the whole thing about the Star Wars thing is still speculation. Because the thing I don't understand about that whole rumor is how come they just couldn't put other showrunners in? Like, this happens with multiple shows all the times. Like, they couldn't just give the show to somebody else. Like, here's a show. You guys, how many directors that could have been promoted to showrunners? Like the guy, what is his name? Mike, or is it Mike or Miguel? The guy that directed majority of the big episodes this season. I believe it was Miguel. I forget his last name, but he did the Battle of the Bastards. He did the Battle for Winterfell, and he did the last episode as well, the Bells. But a lot of the bigger episodes he's directed. And then we've seen this happen with different shows, Walking Dead. A bunch of different shows where they'll just Community, shows where they were like, okay, well, showrunners want to leave or the showrunners want to do something else. The Flash, Greg Berlanti, he goes from one show to another, and then he just hands the show over to somebody else, and then they take control of the show. So I don't know why that, they felt the need. I think maybe just because of how big the show is and how taxing it was to do. And then the other thing is you had to factor in everybody's schedules. Everybody's a bigger star now. All these people that are on the show are household names, or they're doing other projects, they're doing other movies. I just think it wasn't feasible to do 2 to 3 other seasons. I think that's what it came down to. I just think that they just had to wrap it up. Now, I think that eventually there's going to be probably a big documentary or something that kind of or not a documentary, but an article that kind of talks about why the show, couldn't continue on. But I don't think it's just the Star Wars thing. But if it comes out that it's true, then that's dumb.
I don't think the David Benioff and DB Weiss would say outright we wanted to end it early for Star Wars. I don't think they'll say that because it will make them look bad.
Yeah.
But for me, let's say this is what I think. We want to do Star Wars. Let's do something different. I'm kind of done with Game of Thrones. Let's finish it off. And I just think it's that simple.
You think that they just didn't want to hand it over to somebody else?
And I think they pitched it to HBO in a way where HBO believed that they can do it right. We're almost done. George R. R. Martin has just 2 more books. I believe we can do this in 2 seasons. And we can finish it off because we have all the plot points, and I think we can do a good job at it.
I wonder what's going to happen now, because technically HBO still owns the rights to the show. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if they'll be like, okay, you guys wanted you wanted us to redo the last season. We're going to go ahead and do it, and
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you don't think it's going to happen? You don't think so?
Yeah. Nope, that
this
is not going to happen.
This is the biggest show that they've ever had. The series finale brought in 19 million people. It's a big show. They really wanted more episodes. They were even talking about trying to do a movie at some point, and D&D passed on that as well. So I don't know.
I firmly believe that would never happen. You're not going to sit there, no matter how much money you offer. The actors aren't going to be like, no, we're not going to redo. We did it.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit all these actors out. Hey guys, going to redo the entire season. Hey, they're going to shoot their finger guns at them. You guys ready? They're not going to do it. They're going to be like, no, we already filmed it.
Yeah.
I think they would have to recast. They would have to recast everybody.
Yeah, that's not.
The other thing is I don't think the other thing is with each episode they talked about it in each after Game of Thrones or whatever, in between or whatever, behind the scenes, whatever featurette, that each episode was like doing a movie. So
It was.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just think it just wasn't feasibly possible to do, or I mean, I don't know if you could do this outside of the team that they brought together. And I'm sure everybody's going to go and scatter, and people are going to get, majority of the directors that were probably brought on for this will go on to bigger and better things, writers as well, and all the cast and the stars will probably, we'll see them in all probably in big budget movies, and see them, or whatever, in summer blockbusters. But yeah, I don't think it was feasibly possible to do another 3 seasons, or maybe it was. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some sort of expose or something, not like a big like exposition like why the show never continued forward. I think it's just maybe it could be semantics. Maybe it was that D&D just didn't want to do it, but I think that eventually something will come out and they're just going to be like, this is a reason why, this is what happened. And then I think it's going to be basically, I'm hoping it's going to be less controversial than, they just wanted to do Star Wars,
I don't know. What are your thoughts, John? I think you were about to say something.
No, I was just giggling.
Oh, okay. At least my personal thoughts is at this point it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
we can assume, hey, it's because of Star Wars. We can assume, the actors are tired, and there's a lot of like rumors going around. But at this point, it doesn't matter. They filmed the final season. We got what we got. They tried to, close everything out. They try to close everything out as much as possible. But I did say this to my friend that no matter how much closure you put, this world is gigantic, right? This world is gigantic that George R. R. Martin created, and even if they did put closure, if they somehow even put closure and everything, people are still going to be mad. You're not gonna make everybody happy. It doesn't matter. Like I said this too. I saw people arguing, like 3 to 4 people amongst themselves, like how the ending should have happened. Like you're not gonna make anyone happy. Like it doesn't matter.
I think the ending will be what it is, but I think this is why it's taking Martin a long time to write the books, because he's trying to do it in a satisfactory way on building up to that point.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm excited to just check out the books now, because I want to really feel like the turn and really be invested in characters that I think, like if a character does die, let's say Varys when he dies, and you'll really feel affected by it, because I'm going to be honest with you, this season I didn't care. I didn't have any feelings when any of the characters died, as compared to, let's say, when Ned Stark died in the first season, Catelyn died, when Robb died, even when Joffrey died. All those characters, whether you love them or hate them, you felt something like really strongly. Here it's just like, oh, Dany died. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I felt bad about? I'm sorry, Mike. Let me cut in real quick. Is Drogon, when he was pushing her body, it totally reminded me of Lion King. He was just like, "Mom, wake up! Mom, what's the matter?" And then he looked at the chair and he's like, "You son of a bitch!" Right? This is Drogon. Maybe a dragon or a worm or whatever you want to term him as. But he understood that even though Jon killed her, it feels like he understood that it was not Jon that actually killed her. It was her constant pursuit of this piece of metal, right? So it was more symbolic. Like Drogon seemed to always be aware of what Daenerys was doing. Maybe he had like some sort of like reverse warging where he understands, like he empathizes with his mom consistently and understands what her ambitions are, right?
He knew when she died. Like
exactly.
Like he was already screaming when. He didn't even see it, and he already knew it was happening.
I'm saying that mental connection between them two, whether telepathic or empathetic, whatever it is, it was suddenly severed, and he knew, right? So with that kind of connection, Drogon most likely knew what her pursuit was and what power she was trying to attain, and therefore melted that chair, So that part made me sad because I was like, oh man. So he knew, like he could have just burned John. He could have burned John. The thing is, John is not. I thought John was going to be immune to the fire, but he's not. Remember, I think it was season 2 where he burned his hand on a torch or something, and he's half Stark, so he's not full-blooded Targaryen. And the last full-blooded Targaryen is Daenerys. So that part made me sad though when he was like nudging her, and then I felt the emotion with him as he burned and melted the Iron Throne. That was so symbolic, and I love that part. That was one of my favorite parts.
What if Drogon's just dumb and really thought the chair was the one that killed Dany?
You know what? That is also a possibility. But then I'm talking
because he sees the knife in her stomach. He's like, where can this blade come from? I see this chair with lots of swords. I'm thinking it's the chair.
Yeah. But he knew Snow did it. That's why he was just like staring at him, and he screamed. But then he knows Jon Snow was just standing there. He wasn't trying to run away, you know.
No, Jon Snow was like, "It's the chair. The chair did it."
Yeah, I don't think he pointed. But I'm just saying I thought that scene was cool. However you want to interpret it, it can be that way too. But that's how I am interpreting that scene at least, and I empathize with that whole situation. So.
Right. So. Yeah, let's talk about John and how he gets the shaft this season. I mean, this series. I mean, I felt bad for his character. His character is very tragic. I remember we talked about a little bit about where we wanted the characters to go, and I think we talked about remember I kept bringing up the Song of Fire and Ice, and that is the Song of Fire and Ice. Is that Dany dies. And then John basically he gets sacrificed, sacrifices his life and any semblance of a normal life, and has to live out the rest of his days
as a wildling. And basically, I mean, he could have just stayed at the wall, but I figured, he just judging by the way that the show ended, he decided, because even remember. Tormund said you could always go with me. He could come with me. And he's like, you have the North in you, the real North. And then knowing that basically the wildlings don't have a king other than Tormund. I think John can kind of be there, be that person for them. It makes sense because remember he didn't want anything. He didn't want to be the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, but he was forced into it. He didn't want to be the King of the North, but he was forced. He didn't want to be, he didn't want to get Dany. He didn't want to be part of this war anymore, right? Because of what was happening. He did not want anything. So this is the best possible outcome for him. At least and also he got reunited.
Is it the best outcome for him?
For his character, maybe if I was to empathize with his character. Probably not, but he would have probably preferred some sort of a title from fighting from the bottom up. But at the same time, he didn't want any of that stuff. Remember, he was always shying away, and how he was just like he was about to just bow to Dany until
like Bran. But look at where we're at now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in Jon Snow's. At least in the perspective of Jon Snow, I don't know. I think this is the best possible outcome for him as a character, because that's the way he is now with the free folk. He has no responsibilities of commanding people to die or telling people to do something that they don't want to do, or him following somebody that he eventually finds out that he shouldn't be following. So. I think for him, I think that's the best. Yeah. It's just
probably the best for him, yeah. But I don't think it's the best for Westeros. I think he would have been a great king. Like he's already leading people. He's led the Night Watch and others. I believe he can like inspire others. But I guess people just can't get over the fact that he killed Dany. And I don't see Bran being able to lead the people well. Like,
that's why you got advisors and people.
King's Landing, stand with me. Like, I don't see him, being very motivational.
Well, I'm sorry, can I, Mike?
Okay, so I don't think he's going to be that kind of king. I think he's basically the one that needs to be put into place just to put everything back into order. Like he's just basically the one that needs to do the checks and balances. Okay, we need to do this, and we need to do this and that.
Yeah.
So that I think that's why Bran is probably the best for it, because basically they're going to be able to move and do things in order to rebuild King's Landing, rebuild the Seven Kingdoms, rebuild their the infrastructure, and get the right people into power, or but this is not. I mean, I'm hoping the wartime is over. The war is over. Basically, let's hope that portion of that time is over in Westeros, and now they can just try to rebuild and try to physically and literally rebuild King's Landing, and try to figure out how to make things better. How do we make lives for people better than they were before? But I think he can do that. I think he's the kind of person that can do that. Now, if it was something where they needed some people to rally the people together for something like a war, I mean, obviously he's not the best person for that.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
so like I feel in addition to that, you can't bullshit Bran, right? He knows pretty much everything in the past. Like he'll look at you.
All things.
Yeah, he'll look at you and be like, he'll know that you're planning to kill him somewhere down the line, and he's gonna be like, "So I know why you're here." And then you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, I can't carry out my."
What is he gonna do about it? He's just gonna sit down in his wheelchair.
No,
Arya comes out of nowhere to help him again.
No, he's everybody, dude. He knows everybody is supposed to be in their place at to stop certain things. He'll probably speak to somebody, and they'll go to wherever, and before this person attempts to kill him, they'll get stopped. Like he knows how to position people. That's the scary thing about his character. And also he's pretty much wise, because he knows everything, as we said, Mike, right? He knows like the history of everything, like all the way down to the past, so he can also pass that knowledge on to the people that know nothing about it. So I think that's a pretty damn cool king if you can do that. He's like almost like a Professor X.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was thinking about too. Like he's basically if Professor X was king, which is kind of weird when you think about it. But yeah. I mean, I think he's the right person for the time.
I did make that joke, Professor X. He was riding in the wheelchair with the table. Professor X and his X-Men.
But going back to John, that's going to be it's a sad story. Like it's basically, I don't know if he'll ever not have children, because I mean he didn't return to the Night's Watch, what he was supposed to do, and he didn't. I mean he did for a moment, but then he left with the wildlings. Like I didn't understand like that scene, because I mean they didn't tell us a lot of what was going on. Were they waiting there the whole time, or did they know that John was going to come there, and they figured they just meet him as soon as he?
Oh, remember they send They send ravens out. Remember, like whenever like there's a new Night's Watch, they'll send ravens out and be like, "Oh, he's going to be part of the watch now." And of course, the Tormund's up there still. So yeah, of course they were going to be expecting him.
I don't know how continuity works in this show anymore, Alger.
Yeah.
Just because everything's so rushed now.
No, and I understand your frustration with this. But again, I totally understand. I will not deny that from anybody else. So.
Okay, but yeah, like I was just like, okay, so was he waiting there the whole time, or was he like, okay, John's on his way, I'm gonna go meet him at Castle Black, and it was funny like how everybody like was like, oh, did they fix the wall? Like, how did they fix the wall so quick? And it was because the dragon did not attack the area by the Castle Black. It was by Eastwatch.
Yeah, and
just a lot of people I just kept seeing a lot of people tweet that. So yeah, just not completely the other side of the wall, guys. Not the same area. It was funny that people kept tweeting about that.
It is a big wall.
It is. It's a big wall.
It was. Just remember, it was made also with magic. I forgot what. I think you need to look up in the Wiki of Thrones. They explain how that wall was built back many, I don't know, thousands of years ago or something like that.
A millennia ago.
Yeah, to stop the White Walkers, right? And it was made of magic and whatever, and of course Viserion melted that that wall in I don't want to say less than two minutes, but maybe it was just a sped up process. But he melted that, and there's no way the current people of Westeros are going to repair that wall. And you actually don't really need to repair it anymore, because currently you don't see the White Walkers, or the White Walkers aren't a threat anymore. So
right, and then so still going back to John. Now, just because this is something I wanted to talk about, I now understand like why Ghost wasn't in the season so much. I mean, I understand why they did it, and I understand the purpose of what his character was it represented something. It was supposed to mean something, like it was symbolic. His character wasn't actually a character though this season. So his character, the Ghost, the dog, the wolf,
not the actual ghost.
It was a metaphor. It was a metaphor for John, and it's part of me is kind of pissed off that that's what his character was this season, because I wanted to see more of him. So basically, Ghost was supposed to be, John, when he leaves, Winterfell, he leaves Ghost behind. So
yes.
He's leaving behind what he knows in order to fight Daenerys' war. The only time you ever see him is when he finally comes back. He comes back to Castle Black, and he's basically, what his fate was to kill Daenerys and to finally, do what he was always wanted to do, which is have no allegiance to nothing. He doesn't want to be king. He doesn't want to be, the king of the North. He doesn't want any of these titles. He just, he really wants nothing. So the best option for him is to go north. And then, what he says the last time he sees Ghost is to take him with you, because that's where he belongs. And that's where John belongs. He belongs away from, Westeros. He belongs away from all these, this political game, the Game of Thrones and all this other stuff. Even remember, when he Edred was her name? Egrid. So last time, he talks to Egrid as she's dying in his arms. They talk about the cave, and that they could have stayed there and they could have lived forever, away from all this, and they would have been happy, being there. And because he had to come back, because he had to do all these other things that people are making him do, she dies, and then eventually he dies, and then this whole snowball effect of all these different circumstances happens. So I think that's what the whole purpose of Ghost's character is in this season, and it kind of pissed me off when I realized that, because it's like they didn't just give him any like big moments. Like the only big moments he had was when he was running towards the White Walkers with the Dothraki. So other than that, they gave him nothing. Especially like after watching John Wick 3 and all these cool moments with all the dogs, I was like, fuck, and they could have had Ghost do that, and they didn't even do that this season. So, but that was basically Ghost arc, or Ghost's purpose in the season. I mean, I'm glad he's back with John. I mean, everybody was excited. People say that was the best part of the episode, but I was a little disappointed that they didn't do more with with Ghost this season. But I understand now why they didn't. It's specific just for that character arc, but it was a little disappointing. I don't know what you guys thought about it.
Maybe there might be more stuff in the books.
Yeah, there could be more stuff in the books where Ghost rides Drogon into battle, into King's Landing.
Yeah. I'm really excited about reading the books now. Like,
are you, John?
Yeah. Just want to feel everything all fleshed out, and then stuff with Euron. Like he has a meteor role too. So
yeah. So apparently in the books, Euron is like a complete badass, and there's a reason why he's that way. So. But they kind of dumbed it down apparently in the past few seasons. So at least, yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll just have to wait for the books to come out, and then people that are upset. I think the one person that I'm interested to see what happens, and I think this might be one of the spinoffs, because they keep talking about the 3 spinoffs. I think George R. R. Martin said that the 3 spinoffs are still currently in the works, and that they're moving along just perfectly fine. I think there's definitely going to be a spinoff for Arya. Do you guys think that's going to happen?
Arya versus the Americas.
She's gonna find the Grey Havens, the land of the elves. It's like, Elrond, is that you?
Yeah, that's so funny when she was just like, I'm gonna head west because that's where the map stop. I'm just like, okay, is this like a Lord of the Rings situation? She's like Christopher Columbus now. What is this? What's happening?
I don't know.
But I understand that. I understand because I guess she's done killing. She's no longer no one, right? Nobody. So now she's just going to become a pirate princess or pirate queen or whatever the heck she's going to be.
Yeah, like I don't. So there's certain things that we never found out, like what happened with wasn't it Jaqen Hagar? Remember he was coming after her, and that storyline ended. Does she still know how to do the faceless thing?
Yeah.
So she still has that, but I mean that whole story arc with Jaqen Hagar is gone. But maybe we might see that maybe.
I don't remember her killing him.
No, he was still alive. She just left Davos, right? That was it.
So I'm gonna say he probably died of a congenital heart defect.
What?
He just disappeared. He just the number one assassin is just gone. He died, as he was walking down the road, he just died of a heart attack. So that's I may joke about that, but maybe in the books that once you read it, John, you'll find out what happens to him. So.
And then Sansa gets to become Queen of the North, which I guess I could see happening. I could definitely see that happening. And then, as we said, they allowed her to be independent from, the Seven Kingdoms. So it's just the Six Kingdoms now. Six Kingdoms, not the Seven Kingdoms. Tyrion gets to be Hand of the King again as his sentence for treason. He got off pretty light compared to John. But, I mean, he said he didn't want to do it anymore. But, I mean, from what I could see, he seemed to be enjoying it. And the alternative was definitely, it's just way better than what the alternative would have been. So,
which is what?
Death. But I see like what you mean, John. Like, Grey Worm's just like, that's not enough. And then he was just like, he gets to do a job he doesn't want to do anymore. And he's like, okay, fine.
So you know what made me laugh is when Grey Worm was like, all right, set the ship for Noth, right? And then like they should have just waited until the ships disappeared and it'd be like, all right, John, Tyrion will just do whatever the hell you want now.
You just stay here, John. You have to go.
You don't need to go anywhere, John.
I'm just kidding, guys. You can stay here. You don't have to go to Castle Black. That place sucks. You just stay here.
But I think either way, the word would have probably gotten to Grey Worm, and then there'd be war again. So I guess to keep the peace, yeah. Yeah.
The other thing is like, I mean, he convinced Grey Worm, but I don't know if Grey Worm, like, did he have to convince the Dothraki or what? Because I mean, I figured even if they convinced Grey Worm, I figured the Dothraki would be more vengeful than Grey Worm would be. Because I mean, the Unsullied would have listened to Grey Worm, I think, regardless, because of there's just the way that they were created. Like the person that they would have took command from was definitely Grey Worm, but the Dothraki are something entirely different. They just decided not to even show them in the final episode.
They showed them
in the beginning, but by the end of it, you don't see them like get into their own ship, and they're just like, "Well, we'll just go home now."
Oh yeah, no. They showed the Dothraki, like two of them walking towards the ship areas. So I don't know if you saw it. Rewatch the episode again. You'll see them as.
No, I remember it now. Like they walk past John, so they don't even like look at John like, "Oh, that's the guy that killed our queen." They just like walk right past him without even acknowledging him.
They're like, "Hey, buddy."
Quite weather we have today, huh?
But no, so you pretty much understand that they just like all the Unsullied, all the Dothraki go back and become the Dothraki again. The Unsullied go on the beaches of Noth and do the beach anime episode, right?
The Dothraki, they're like, okay, so wait. So let's just say there's a scene where they're still sitting in front of the steps on their horses, waiting for what's going to happen, and they're like, "So, we decided we're going to send Jon Snow to the wall, and we're not going to kill Tyrion Lannister. You all can go home now." And they're like, "Okay, I guess we'll just go home."
We're not going to keep an eye on you. All the Unsullied will be going now.
Nothing to see here. You guys can just go. Okay. Well, I mean, but yeah, I just thought that was really weird. But I mean, I could see the Unsullied going back with the Dothraki. They're like, hey, like, what about us? You know. So and it's just like we're to not have to deal with having to give you that answer. They just decided not to show them or what happened to them, other than just two guys walking on a dock towards a ship. That was it, and that was basically to let you know that they were leaving. But I mean, it's still there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions from the season. Ultimately, there's never been a show like this. That's what it comes down to. There's nothing.
Not even The Walking Dead.
No, not even The Walking Dead. There's nothing that comes remotely close to what they were doing with this show, and on the scale that they were able to do it, and all the different set pieces and all that stuff. It just nothing close to it. There's nothing that was ever like it, and it's unfortunate that this is the way it had to end. This is as close as we were probably going to get, unless there's something that does come out that says otherwise. But it just I mean, I was satisfied with the ending as far as like what happened. I just I just definitely wish it was something where we did get that longer build, because those longer arcs, I mean, I'm sure like all these big plot points that happened this season, it would have meant more drawn out the way that it was originally intended. It's just that for time constraints and what was left that they could do, this is the way it happened, and then this is just what we're kind of left with. And I mean, overall, the previous 7 seasons are still amazing. I mean, I kind of want to go back and start from the beginning again.
Do it.
I mean, and I think there's certain people that are like, oh, I wasted 8 years of my life to this. I mean, I don't think so. Like, I think it was still entertaining.
It wasn't as, let's say, a very crappy ending like Mass Effect 3, where you played all of 1 and then 2. These are long hours too.
Yeah.
And then the ending, only 3 options, and all your choices didn't really matter.
Yeah, red, green, and blue, and it was all the same option. But I was the same. I was the same way, John, with that whole thing. I was just like, "What the crap is this?" But then I'm just like, "Oh, whatever." At least I enjoyed. At least I enjoyed the first 2 to the portion of 3, and yeah.
Yeah. See, I enjoy first 2, and then like the most of part 3. But I don't think I ever want to replay the games again, just knowing how the ending is. Like, it's just, no, I can't do it. Even though I enjoyed the journey.
Apparently they fixed it. I never downloaded that DLC because I was just so disappointed in that ending.
It doesn't fix anything.
Okay, there you go.
It's just, all it does is just explain a little bit more on what's actually happening, because there were people that thought it was the indoctrination thing.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. And even with that theory, I didn't even like that theory anyway. So either way, any ending sucks. But with Game of Thrones, I guess it will be mixed. Some people will be like, but I don't think it was like so. I would say like some parts are disappointing, but it wouldn't be like that damaging where I would be scarred if I were to rewatch the show.
Right. Like, I don't feel like I wasted, whatever. Because some people are like, oh, I wasted 8 years of my life. Like, I don't see that at all. Like, there was some great moments. It's just, at the end, it's just a television show, guys. It was a TV show. It was something that was, we were able to talk about with, with friends and family, or, even coworkers. People were like, oh my God, do you see what happened at Game of Thrones last night? And so, it was entertainment. It was entertaining to watch. There's nothing else that was like it. And there probably won't be another show similar to it, unless maybe the Lord of the Rings show.
Lord of the Rings, man, can't wait.
Wait, who's doing the Lord of the Rings?
There's like no news yet on that. They're still working on it.
You're right, but yeah, that could be the next Game of Thrones. That could be it's. But then maybe it's not. But like I say, there's never been another TV show that's come close to what Game of Thrones was doing.
Doctor Who.
No. And it's just, it's unfortunate that it ended this way. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Lost, but like even Lost wasn't nearly as big on this scale, but it still had that kind of like similar bittersweet ending. But it didn't have the ending where it was rushed. It was just literally they ran out of ideas and they were like, okay, well, everybody just kind of goes to heaven. But at least people can. I don't know if they can take comfort in knowing that this was how it was going to end, anyways. Because people want to just, blame DB Wise and or the D&D basically saying that they completely went off script or went off, what George R. Martin had set out for them as far as an outline. I mean, it'd be interesting now knowing that the backlash about what people think of the ending. What if George R. Martin changes the books?
Yeah.
What if he would?
What if he changes the books?
That'd be funny.
And they all lived happily ever after.
No, if he does that, then he'd probably be going against everything that he's been doing since the beginning. You know what I mean?
It would be big middle finger to the showrunners too. Like, hey, you know what I told you? It was all a lie.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Game of Thrones, bitch.
But yeah, I think it was a fun journey. It was fun to get here to this point. It's just I'm sad to see it end. I'm sad that there's really no other show that we followed like this to this point. There was a time maybe Game of Thrones. There was a time maybe Walking Dead was that show, and then we fell off of that show, and that show's still going. I mean, maybe it's best that the show ended, because you can see sometimes shows go on for too long, and then you're just kind of like, it's best that this ends, So maybe it was better that it ended this way. We'll never know. We just kind of have to accept what we were offered and just move on with our lives. Move on, and then watch Jesse Pinkman in
Westworld. Yeah. Now I have to finish the second season because
now I'm interested. Now I want to know.
Yeah, that trailer. I'm like, what show is this? But now it's Future World. That's what it is. So that's cool. Like, because the second season. Yeah. Back to Game of Thrones.
Back to we're digressing.
So stay tuned for our Westworld podcast coming up.
That's funny.
New season starts. Okay, was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about the season, the series, or anything left that we haven't talked about in terms of character? I mean, I guess we didn't really talk about Brienne, basically writing, I guess, an eulogy to Jamie in the, I guess the cryptext or whatever. I don't know.
She can write her own stories now. It's like, Jamie never left Brienne of Tarth for he stayed with her.
Yeah. Oh man. Actually, truthfully, that whole, with her writing that and saying Jamie pretty much died a hero instead of being crushed to death by bricks, which would have been kind of terrible for him, because everything that was written about Jamie was just he was just a kingslayer, right?
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much it, and she filled in all the holes, all the positive points in Jamie's life, and I think that was actually super cool. I really like that part, that at least that closure in that sense for her.
Yeah, I mean, she could have. I mean, in a different life, I think there would have been a relationship between Brienne and Jamie. It just wasn't meant to be in this. In this Game of Thrones, it's just with the circumstances that that was around Jamie, this was going to be his end. And maybe it definitely was not the way that it would have panned out as far as over the course of 2 or 3 seasons, but this is what what was going to happen. But it was cool that she at least did that for him. Other than that, what else did you guys want to do?
I think the final scene of them finally choosing Bran and the whole table of people of Bran's advisors, you see these characters, these specific characters finally have grown to become to become part of a position of power, and you can tell these are genuine characters and not corrupt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not sure about Braun. Braun
He can be easily bought.
He could be easily bought, but then now he's attained his title as Lord of Highgarden, right? So so he's just like, he's up top now, and he's also a master of coin, and he also knows how to handle money, which is good because he was giving them shit about that, right, during the whole meeting. And then you have Sam as he's gonna go with Frodo later. No, I'm just kidding. Sam is the maester. You saw him grow from the Night's Watch to becoming a maester for Bran. So that's I think that whole scene there was actually super cool. I like that. I really like that. And how they're all just bickering with each other. And Davos too was in there, right? From what I remember, right? So
yeah, Davos was there too.
Yeah. So for the naval stuff and boats, and I just love that scene. That was one of my favorite scenes in that ending. It's just them talking about how to rebuild the kingdom and how to make things happier again. And everything was rebuilt around them. I guess the Red Keep and all cleaned up and whatnot. So you could tell this was like maybe several months or maybe several weeks or months later after doing the rebuilding process. So I really like that. I like that. For me, that was very like wholesome.
Yeah,
and also all the, in addition to the Stark children finally, saving or finally being in places of power and moving on with their lives and not having to worry about the Night King or Cersei or anybody else anymore.
And then the other thing, like, about that scene, like, before that, Tyrion, I thought it was a really interesting or cool scene where he's in that room, and he's been in that room many times. Like, I don't know if you've seen, like, one of the compilations of, like, Tyrion is the best character in Game of Thrones, but in season 1, there's a meeting where it's, like, Tywin, and it's, like, everybody that used to be in there, and then Tyrion shows up late, and then, like, he kind of like sarcastically or purposely drags a chair from one area to another, so it's like making this really loud sound, and Tywin's just kind of like sneering at him, like staring right at him as he's doing this. And it just is funny because he goes into that room and like he's been there so many times. His place is his home, more than what is it, Casterly Rock?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that their home? Where is it?
Yeah, Casterly Rock. Yeah,
it's that castle is more his home than Casterly Rock. And it's just everything feels so familiar. He's been in that room so many times, so he kind of like arranges all the furniture, arranges all the chairs, and then everybody comes in, and everybody's kind of moving everything around, and he's kind of getting annoyed by everybody. And I thought that was really it was an interesting scene. It was kind of like a callback, but at the same time, like I think he enjoys being there with those people, and that he's where he needs to be. Where he's helping everyone rebuild Westeros and rebuild King's Landing. So that was a really cool scene, and it was kind of like it was happy. Like I felt like the mood was light, and it just seemed like we're gonna be all right. Everything's gonna be just fine, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a nice ending. I don't know, like, and then the scene with the Stark kids.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know. I felt the entire scene was wholesome. What about you, John?
Yeah, it's good, happy, wholesome. It's pretty much how I agree with you guys. It's the Stark kids. They've been through a lot of crap since the first season, so finally they get some closure, and each of them has like their own journey, and they know that they're safe now. And so it's kind of sweet.
It's funny if you go back to I think season 2 when Sansa was supposed to be the queen for Joffrey, you see how stupid she used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like she used to be really stupid, like and naive. And like she was just like, oh, Joffrey is my king, and she just wanted that title, but she didn't know what responsibilities that title meant to become a queen of the Seven Kingdoms. She just wanted that power. And then now you look at her, she's she's the queen of the North and respected, and she's much more powerful and much more smarter now, and not that dumb girl that just wanted that title. And that's I like that. That's what I liked about that. About people wanted her to be the queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but come on, dude.
Were you trying to say she can't do it because she's a woman? Is that what you're
No,
trying to say? No,
that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, like,
dare you?
you are
How
so
dare you?
That is not what I'm saying.
Podcast over. Done.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, to take over the whole Seven Kingdoms, her character didn't want that. She just wanted to be with the people of the North. That's how it was. At least that's how I felt, and it happened, and that was it.
That's the thing. Like, so about these like 3 spinoffs, I don't know if they're ever gonna like go back to these characters, or these characters are just done. Like, we don't know anything. The only one I've heard like any rumor about is there's supposed to be something that's based on the First Men. That's supposed to be a series or something that's rumored to be in the works. But other than that, nobody has really any information on the spinoffs as far as like what they're going to go into. But like I could see if they do maybe if they do an Arya spinoff, you know, maybe she kind of comes into contact, or you know, eventually runs into you know, Sansa or something like that. I don't know. Maybe not. You know, maybe they do 3 completely different spinoffs that have absolutely nothing to do with these people that we've already, you know, known or, you know, have been in contact with. I don't know. You know, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But I mean, I think we've basically covered everything that I wanted to talk about. Unless you guys have anything you want to add.
No, that was it. I'm just. It's been a great 7 years and a questionable last year for questionable last season, but you know, again, it is what it is, and you try to make do with what you have with the characters and the storylines and all the plots that were created. And yeah, you know, again, it's bittersweet for me, but I still enjoy that ending, and people will still complain no matter what. So I'm just glad I experienced Game of Thrones, and it was, and I love the characters so much. I especially Tyrion. So
still not one for the fans is Alger Alama. If you want to send your hate mail, you want to send that to Alger Alama Reactor. You can direct all your hate mail to him. And, send all the requests to sign that petition to Alger. All right, John. Last word on Game of Thrones as a series, as a season. What do you got to say?
Even though with all the mixed reactions from the last 2 seasons, I still have to give props to David Benioff and D.B. Weiss just for being able to pull off a show with the source material and making people engaged for these many seasons. Like, we've never had any shows where you're stuck with it for that many seasons. Sometimes you just fall off and you quit way before. But here, people are still watching it, and everywhere like during events, people were watching. Like, people have to watch it like on that night of, you know. And yeah. Like for me, for example, yesterday I was at the junket for Godzilla, you know, doing the interviews for the cast and director, and people like at the hotel were watching that show like that night of. They have to watch it like right away. So I was like, man, this is everywhere, and I was trying to like cover my eyes so I didn't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to add to that, John, because when I was still doing the interviews for Nerd Reactor, this was at San Diego Comic-Con back in, I think 2015.
Yeah.
And then you had me covering the Nickelodeon stuff, and I was interviewing David Faustino, you know, Bud Bundy.
Yes.
And I forgot the other actress that was with me. It was for Korra. I remember asking him about 3 main questions about Korra. Then I was like, all right, those are the main ones I wanted to ask you. What did you guys think about Game of Thrones? Like, we just started talking about Game of Thrones. Like it was just like talking to like you guys, and we're just like, okay, this is probably what's going to happen the rest of the season. This is probably what's going to happen to the character later on. Like we were like coming up with theories and did what ifs, and it was pretty cool. And then the lady came by. That was just like moderating everything, and she was just like, "Okay, guys, you guys are gonna be done soon. You guys have 5 more minutes." And David Fosse was like, "Man, we still have to talk more about about Game of Thrones because I still want to talk about it." And I'm just like, "Dude, that's awesome." So that's how much of an effect that show had on everybody. Yeah.
And I want to add to that too. Like when I was interviewing Michael Dougherty, who's the director of Godzilla, King of the Monsters,
nice.
And people like I was listening in on his because he's doing interviews back to back with different outlets, so I can hear like the different outlets asking him about Game of Thrones, and even I had to like talk to him about like, dude, Game of Thrones. I was like, no, we're here for Godzilla. Let's talk about Godzilla. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's just everywhere.
Yeah, it was a cultural phenomenon, man. I don't know if we're ever gonna have that again. It'd be naive for me to say it's not gonna happen, but it'll probably happen again. But it has to be something that'll recatch the public's eye again. So that'll engage them in sync to start having theories again. Because shows like Game of Thrones, I mean, things like that only come once in a blue moon. So.
Right. No, it's something that it made fantasy cool again. Like, I mean, outside of just like, I mean, people like that like Harry Potter, majority of them either already like it or, they're, nerdy people like us. But like to the masses, people that aren't even interested in this kind of stuff, they liked Game of Thrones. Like people at my work who have no, interest at all in anything remotely, related to fantasy, they were talking to me about Game of Thrones at work, and it's just like they're just like, oh my god, did you see what happened? Like these people don't know anything about like D&D or or Warcraft or anything like that. Or anything that remotely is close to fantasy. But something about this show, and then how captivating it was, and how unique and interesting, and the characters, people just got swept up in it, and it just it was inviting that. And I don't know if this will ever happen again. I don't know. It's going to be something that's going to be tough to beat, and it's going to be something that's going to be tough to try to match. And it might be a while before we see a show like this coming along again.
Truthfully, I think the people that got caught into this show initially was because of Joffrey,
right.
And when he was so hated that everybody was just rooting for him to eventually, and everybody was waiting until he would get croaked. And I think it was season 5 or season 6 when it was a Purple Wedding, right?
I think it was either season 3 or 4.
Yeah. And then he chokes like everybody was cheering and waiting for that moment.
Oh yeah!
I got to give props to was it Jackie Gleason, the actor?
Yeah.
Because he did that character, and you hated his face, but in real life he's like a super chill guy, like a super nice kid, and everybody's like screaming at him like, "Hey, f you for your kid." I feel bad for actors like that get that heat.
But because people can't like separate fiction from reality.
Yeah, and at the same time, that means they're doing their job well, right? Mm-hmm. And they're captivating you, and they're tugging at your emotions in some form or another to make you feel for the character or hate that character or love that character. You know what I mean? So I gotta give a big shout out to him for that. So he's one of the main reasons that probably caught everybody into the series.
Okay, I think we've talked about Game of Thrones long enough.
Yeah.
We've been going at it for more than an hour now. I think it's time to finally put this show to rest, and then we're just gonna have to move on.
Are you trying to rush this?
Yes, I am. We could have done this with at least 2 or 3 other podcasts, but we're only going to do it into one. I'm done. I got to do something else. I'm going to start my Star Wars podcast next week.
Wow. Subtle jab.
So, thank you guys for listening to our little conversation that we had for our last 2 episodes here. Hopefully, we will continue to do this going forward. Obviously not on Game of Thrones, but maybe just on maybe some the current topics for news as far as gaming and movies, because I do like doing these group discussions, and we used to do them a lot more back in the day on Nerd Reactor. So be on the lookout for that, because we might be doing that in the future. But yeah, so this is going to be the end for our Game of Thrones podcast. It's been a wild ride. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you to our two special guests that we had to.
That was my air horn. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Just imagine you as Qbert just doing that noise.
Okay. Well, anyways, we had John and Alger here today. Look for them on their other TV shows. You can find John on nerdreactor.com. And also on Nerd Reactor's YouTube page, where you can see a lot of the interviews he does, as well as some of the reaction videos. That's also where you're going to find this podcast as well. So yeah, look for that. And then Alger, you can find him on the off-ramp of the 91 and Roses.
Wow.
But no, we'll probably, we're probably going to definitely have to do this again, because it's just too fun to talk about stuff with us. So we'll just be on the lookout for another podcast in the future. I don't think it'll be based on a series. It might just be based on some of the current events going on in all of geek culture. But thank you guys for staying through to the end of this very long podcast. But we will see you guys next time.
See ya.